and it was constructed by the Roman settlers in London in about 60 AD. It's the oldest piece of infrastructure in the city of London. Roman Wall on our right. Once again on our left is the Tower of London. The Tower of London is home to crows. It has 6 crows that roam freely around the grounds. They are tame, they won't attack you, you can approach them and stroke them if you like. There is a superstition associated with the crows of the Tower of London. Although crows come and go, they do die on the grounds of the tower and are replaced. They never fly away from it. They always stay on the tower grounds. And it's said that when the crows fly away from the Tower of London, the tower itself will crumble and fall into dust and rubble. So the crows, the spirit of the tower on our left there. So as I mentioned before, the Tower of London was used as a prison for its history and hosted the execution of Queen Anne Boleyn, accused of adultery and treason. However, Anne Boleyn was one of only about 7 people executed on the grounds of the tower itself. She also come from a very highly regarded background to an execution on the tower grounds, from aristocracy or royalty. The saying goes that one had to be very well connected to have been disconnected at the Tower of London. The tower on our left. Actually, most executions took place on our right-hand side, executions of prisoners from the tower. They took place on our right-hand side in that green space, which is called Tower Hill. And it's quite an interesting story regarding the final execution to take place on Tower Hill, the beheading of a man called Lord Lovat. Lord Lovat was held in the Tower of London, and his execution was scheduled to take place on Tower Hill on our right. When public executions were legal in England for a long time, they were rather bizarrely celebrated. It was seen as a day out for the family. You can go and watch the execution and celebrate. When news got out that Lord Lovat was to be executed, some stalls were built on Tower Hill, wooden stands, sort of resembling an amphitheatre, that would allow the crowds to go with view. So the day of the execution came, and crowds gathered on Tower Hill, and Lord Lovat was brought out of the tower. Upon seeing Lord Lovat, the crowds rushed over to the stalls which had been built for them to get a good view. However, these stalls weren't particularly well built, they were very unstable, and from the sudden weight of the crowds, they promptly collapsed, and they left people sprawled across all of Tower Hill, leaving them very disorientated. Many of them were already a bit disorientated because they'd had a few drinks to celebrate the execution. So upon seeing this, poor Lord Lovat, brought out of the Tower of London facing his execution, burst into laughter. He found it absolutely hilarious seeing all these people sprawled across Tower Hill, and he actually spent the very last moments of his life laughing. He laughed until the very moment the axe came down and his execution took place. And it's from the story of Lord Lovat's execution where he gets the very commonly used phrase of laughing my head off. It's a phrase we all know, it's a phrase we all use, and we never really know where it came from. It does come from the execution of Lord Lovat, the final public execution on Tower Hill.
Laugh your head off.
On our left-hand side is a church called All Hallows by the Tower. All Hallows by the Tower has quite a firm American connection, as William Penn, the founder of the state of Pennsylvania, was christened inside of All Hallows by the Tower. William Penn was later held as a prisoner in the Tower of London later on in life, but he was christened in All Hallows by the Tower on our left. Also, John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States of America, was married in the church on our left.
John Quincy Adams, the 6th President, the son.
Also, if you look to the top of All Hallows by the Tower, mine is somewhere, it's very silly. If you look to the top of All Hallows by the Tower, you'll notice a green spire, which actually has a balcony built into it. It was on that spire where a man called Samuel Pepys stood. If anyone isn't too familiar with Samuel Pepys, he was a man who lived in London during the 1600s, and he was a great diarist. He made accounts of lots of events which took place in London during his lifetime, including the 1666 Great Fire. and some of the people stood on the balcony of All Hallows by the tower and watched the Great Fire of London as it burned through the city. It was on that balcony where he wrote his account of the fire. Possibly the clearest and best account
hung,
of the
drawn,
fire
and
that we actually
quartered.
had. So we're now making our way down Lower Thames Street.
Look, Dad, look at this shop.
Slightly ahead of us on the left-hand side is quite a large building called Customs House. Although the house itself hasn't always stood there, it dates back to about the early 1700s, the site on which it stands has been a site for customs since the Roman times. Whenever any imports were brought into the city from boats on the Thames, it was based inside the Customs House before being moved on to the distant locations, usually marketplaces, we sold on. Customs House on our left